Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, a shattered Soviet nuclear submarine lay silently on the ocean floor. Inside were nuclear torpedoes, secret military codes, and intelligence that could shift the balance of the Cold War. But while the world believed a billionaire was building a deep-sea mining ship, the United States was secretly preparing one of the most expensive covert operations in history. A $500 million mission to steal a Soviet submarine from 3 miles beneath the ocean. This is the true story of Project Azorian and the lengths the CIA went to hide it from the entire world. In March 1968, during the height of the Cold War, a Soviet ballistic missile submarine known as Soviet Submarine K-129 suddenly vanished in the Pacific Ocean. The submarine was carrying nuclear missiles and top-secret Soviet military technology. When it failed to report back to Moscow, the Soviet Navy launched a massive search operation across the Pacific, but despite weeks of searching, they could not find the submarine. To the Soviet Union, it had simply disappeared. But the United States was listening. Through a network of underwater hydrophones, the U.S. Navy had detected the sound of a powerful underwater explosion. Using this data, American intelligence analysts were able to pinpoint the approximate location where the submarine had sunk, 3 miles below the surface, far deeper than any submarine had ever been recovered. But what if the United States could recover the wreck before the Soviets ever found it? Inside that submarine were nuclear torpedoes, missile technology, and possibly Soviet nuclear launch codes. Recovering it could give the United States one of the greatest intelligence victories of the Cold War. The only problem was, no one had ever attempted anything like it. The wreck of the submarine rested nearly 16,000 feet beneath the Pacific Ocean. At that depth, the water pressure is so immense that ordinary equipment would collapse instantly. To recover the submarine, the CIA needed to design an entirely new kind of ship, one capable of secretly lifting a 2,000-ton nuclear submarine from the ocean floor, and it had to be done without the Soviet Union noticing. The CIA realized they needed the perfect cover story, so they turned to one of the most unusual figures in American history, billionaire industrialist Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes was known for building experimental aircraft and strange engineering projects, so when news broke that Hughes was constructing a giant ship designed to mine rare minerals from the ocean floor, the story seemed believable. The ship was called the Hughes Glomar Explorer, but the mining project was a lie. Hidden inside the ship was a massive mechanical claw designed to grab the wreckage of the Soviet submarine from the seabed. The CIA had just created one of the most elaborate cover stories in history. But even if the plan worked, the ship would be operating in international waters. If Soviet ships discovered what the Americans were doing, the operation could trigger a major international crisis, possibly even war. In 1974, the Hughes Glomar Explorer sailed into the Pacific Ocean, directly above the location where the submarine had sunk. Using massive drilling pipes lowered mile after mile into the ocean, the ship deployed its giant mechanical claw. Slowly, carefully, the claw descended into the darkness. After hours of maneuvering, it finally grasped the wreckage of the Soviet submarine. The crew began the slow process of lifting the submarine toward the surface, but halfway through the lift, something went terribly wrong. The submarine hull suddenly began to break apart, and most of the wreckage slipped from the claw, falling back into the darkness 3 miles below. Despite the failure, the CIA was still able to recover a portion of the submarine. Inside the recovered section were several Soviet sailors who had died when the submarine sank. In a rare moment of respect during the Cold War, the United States conducted a burial ceremony at sea for the fallen Soviet crew. but the most valuable parts of the submarine, including its nuclear missiles and code systems, were lost when the wreck broke apart. For years, the entire mission remained completely secret until a journalist accidentally uncovered the story. When asked about the mission, the CIA famously responded with a phrase that would become legendary: "We can neither confirm nor deny." Today, the operation is remembered as one of the most ambitious intelligence missions ever attempted. A secret Cold War gamble involving billions of dollars, revolutionary engineering, and a daring attempt to steal a nuclear submarine from the bottom of the ocean. A mission known as Project Azorian.